There we go. Just trying to get the volume adjusted, folks. But yeah, welcome to this live speculation. And first of all, I do apologize if I keep looking this way. If you watched the last stream I did just recently today, I talked about basically how just talked about the updates that Windows does, and sorry for the lag there, but talked about the updates that Windows does that a lot of people are kind of getting a little fed up with, and just kind of gave a discussion on it, and with the fact that in this past week we've had like 4 updates already. So yeah, I think that warrants enough of a discussion to kind of get off my system. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, um, I thought I'd come on here and basically give you my live thoughts, live speculational thoughts on what we could be getting in the second season of DuckTales, the new DuckTales series, which was kind of titled or sort of titled or self-titled by fans as DuckTales 2007 or 2017, I should say. And now this one's going to be DuckTales 2017 season 2 or something like that. And first of all, I do apologize for any lag or something. As I mentioned, now with any live stream I have the Xfinity XBS modem or XB6 modem, the Xfinity XB6 modem. Well, I guess the emphasis is more on Wi-Fi than internet cable connections, because basically we have the internet cable. They give us internet ports in the back of this, but it seems that when anybody else jumps on the Wi-Fi, whether it's because of the AT&T router or modem they have, or they have an Xfinity modem or whatever, we kind of get knocked out a little bit. So yeah, go figure that, folks. Um, but I thought I'd come on here live and kind of give a bit of speculation on what the second season of the new DuckTales will be. Now, I haven't watched any of the episodes, but like a lot of shows that I'm kind of intrigued by or interested in and have been hearing good things about, I do watch clips here and there, and I do listen to what other people have to say, like, Isaac of WhatSoVideos.com, Sean Burgess, I think. Sorry for the whistle there. Or Sean Burgess. I think I pronounced that right. Says, or the next big thing, or whoever else. Basically Channel Awesome, Andre Meadows, Black Nerd Comedy, you name it. So I kind of keep tabs that way. So I figured, why not come on here and give my thoughts from what we've learned this season, and basically mostly what we got today. You see, today was the 1 hour, 2-part, if you want to look at it that way, the 1 hour, in actuality, 2-part season 1 finale, Shadow War. As far as I know, and this is going off by what people have discussed, basically Magica the Spell in this incarnation was introduced to us as a shadow. She was a shadow inhabiting or sharing space, if you will, with that of another character's shadow, a new character called Lena. Now, Lena became the best friend of this incarnation's version of Webby. Long story short, Lena was the niece, as far as we know, of Magica the Spell. and she was doing Magica's bidding, even though she didn't kind of really want to do it. I mean, the more she got to being close friends with Webby, the more she started, from what I understand, being reluctant to do Magica's bidding. If you catch my drift. And again, I'm just checking something here. But yeah, the more she got reluctant to do Magica's bidding. So, anyway, long story short, everything's been leading up to this moment. In addition, there was another subplot that played a major factor in the series. In fact, it's played a major factor since the beginning of the series, and that is the mystery of what happened to Huey, Dewey, Louie's mom, Della Duck. Now, one thing about this series, and a lot of series that are similar to it, is the people behind it are doing something that they've been wanting to do since they were kids. And that's basically bring any story they can think of involving these characters to life. I mean, you can't tell me as kids they didn't hear about Della Duck. You didn't hear about possibly what happened to her. So you grow up, you get put in charge of creating a new incarnation of DuckTales. You basically see an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to take the story that I wanted to see come to life on television, and I'm going to finally make that happen. And that's basically kind of what they do. They make it happen. So since the beginning of the series, we've been getting episodes, clues, and everything to what happened to Della Duck, and we'd be giving little hints just to find out they weren't exactly what we thought they were, only to find out that what was found out turned out to be something else. Just back and forth, really good storytelling. One of the things that I think kind of held DuckTales, the new DuckTales, back a little bit, though, and I'm not trying to be mean about this, was the gap between new episodes. Now, this is not uncommon for any show to have a gap. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has basically a month and a half gap or several months gap between seasons or between a current season. Like this year, they had a gap that ran from about, I would say, mid-June to about mid-August, so almost about 2 months. 2 months gap. And when a season ends in around the fall, which is like October, we have basically November, December. We have the rest of October, November, December, January, February, and March. We usually have about nearly a 6-month hiatus before the next season. The only thing that's different about MLP this year is that hiatus will be interrupted with a new 44-minute Christmas special or Hearthwarming Eve special in December. Now, with that said, just like I did during lunch the other day for My Little Pony, I'm going to speculate on what we could expect possibly from what I've heard and from what I've seen upcoming in DuckTales Season 2. Now, as we got towards the end of this season, just through the clips I saw and from what people were talking about, we finally found out exactly what happened to Della Duck. What happened to her, what exactly happened to her. Bit of spoilers in case you guys haven't seen it. Della Duck ends up taking a rocket called the Spear of Selene that Scrooge used his wealth to buy for her and name after the goddess Selene that we actually did meet in this season who revealed that she and Della were good friends, and that Della really cared about truly cared about her family. Long story short, Scrooge wanted to present this rocket as a mother-to-be gift to Della, because Della was not exactly expecting, in a sense, but was basically on the verge of motherhood due to the fact that she had 3 eggs that were ready to crack, on the verge of cracking. Well, instead of basically doing the smart thing and listening to her brother, Donald, and even Scrooge, but mostly Donald, she decides to take a chance and pilot the rocket herself into space, because that is the one place of adventure that she, Scrooge, and Donald have not yet journeyed to. Unfortunately, Scrooge found out about it too late, tried to talk her back into flying back towards Earth, and unfortunately, the signal ended up being lost because she ended up basically being she ended up in a cosmic storm, and that was the last Scrooge had seen of her. Basically, the signal was lost, and thus she was lost. But as we found out at the end of Shadow War here, and again, bit of spoilers, as we found out at the end of the season 1 finale here, bit of spoilers, we find out that Della was not exactly gone. That instead, ironically, she ended up on the moon. Yeah. Here you get this perception from Scrooge himself that Della is lost among the universe. Like, they don't know exactly where she's at. And all this time, she's been up on the moon trying to survive. And I know people are questioning how could that be. Hey, Disney cartoon logic, and different universes, the atmospheres for different universes work differently, and I guess on the moon, time kind of moves slowly, if you will. Like, she could get the broadcast of what happened, of how Duck Burger was saved, on the exact same day it occurred, but time moves slowly in response. Like, let's say someone's watching my live stream on the moon right now. They could be watching it live as I speak, but time is moving slowly for them in that atmosphere. So what could be me talking for about a minute could be about 5 minutes to them on the moon. Kind of in that example. And it's at the end of the finale that we do finally get to see, in animated form, not flashback, Della Duck. And we get to see her in all, well, not all her glory, but we get to see her watching the report, lifting up the goggles from her eyes after she's touched the screen like this. After she touches the screen like this, she lifts the goggles up, and then she basically, in a sense, parallel to what Dewey said at the end of the pilot, the season 1 premiere, when Dewey asked the question, when he looked at the picture and he went, "Mom?" After Della sees the news of what happened on this monitor, this setup monitor that she's put together, she lifts up her goggle. She puts her hand, like I said, she puts her hand to the monitor, then lifts up her goggles and goes, "Boys?" Kind of parallel to what Dewey said. So you can kind of tell, in a sense, that parental-wise, Dewey's taking after his mom a lot. So exactly how is that going to play into season 2? Well, I think what we got at the end of this episode here, with Della kind of piecing together or salvaging some of the parts of the ship to even put this monitor together so she can get some broadcasts from Earth to kind of keep herself entertained or keep up to date what's going on in Duckburg. I think what's going to happen is she's also going to put together possibly a two-wave radio, or she's going to try to put something together to send out a video message to Scrooge, Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Donald, and everybody, basically everybody that we saw in this finale. She's going to send a signal out to them, and whether it's going to be a you know, statically interrupted live signal, live video signal, or whatever it's going to be. Basically, what we're going to get, in my opinion, at the beginning of the season 2 premiere is her contacting Scrooge and her family, letting them know that she's alive and and explaining exactly what happened, and that this cosmic storm she got caught up in, basically caused her to crash land on the moon. That basically she was able to escape the jet or escape the rocket just before it crashed into a million pieces on the moon. In other words, she was able to possibly eject herself through an ejection seat before the rocket crashed on the moon in a million pieces. That's what I'm assuming is what we're going to get at the beginning. Is her contacting them, letting them know she's alive, kind of explaining how she ended up there, basically because of the cosmic storm we saw in a flashback a couple of episodes back, or last week, I should say, in last week's episode or so. We're going to see her explain how that happened, but also, like I say, let them know that she's alive and well, and that she's been surviving on the moon best she can. Now, how does this work into season 2? Well, just like with season 1, you're going to have the episode on occasions, probably about 75% of the time, focusing on Scrooge, the nephews, Donald, and everybody else, Webby, Gyro, Gizmo, or Fenton, if you will, working together to figure out a way to get to the moon and bring Della home. That's exactly what's probably going to happen. Again, my speculation is during the season 2 premiere, she's going to put together some kind of device, maybe use the same monitor she was watching the news broadcast on, and she's going to use it to contact her family back down on Earth, tell them that she's alive, explain exactly what happened when it came to that cosmic storm that, as we saw, caused her to crash down on the moon. And then that's going to lead, for perhaps 75% of the season, to Scrooge and the family trying to find the family and friends trying to find or figure out different ways to get to the moon and bring her home. So that in itself is going to be an intriguing storyline throughout the season, because as we know, Scrooge, basically his funding for the rocket program was cut off. So it's going to be really interesting how they build to this crescendo, if you will, in the season. And whether or not the rescue happens as a part of the mid-season finale or it happens as part of the season finale, it's going to happen. It's most definitely going to happen. And I think a lot of people have to prepare for that. Have to prepare for that to be. I think what I'm trying to say is I believe a lot of people are going to have to hopefully be ready for that moment in the season 2 premiere when she contacts them, and also be ready whether it's during the mid-season a mid-season finale before the hiatus or the finale itself, that we get Della Duck back on Earth. And where do they go with her from there is anybody's question. Now, the other thing that happened in this finale that I think is going to really play a part in season 2 is Lena. I don't know how to explain this because, like I said, I haven't seen the finale. But from what people are saying, Lena was actually a shadow brought to life by Magica. Yeah, Lena was a shadow brought to life by Magica to do her bidding. But the more Lena existed as a real duck, the more she started to feel like one, and the more she started to enjoy it, enjoy being real. But at the same time, the more Lena hung out with someone like Webby, the more she started to kind of second guess her allegiance to Magica. Well, like I said, if you watch the finale, and from what I've heard, Lena, after Magica is brought back, is absorbed into the shadows. Is absorbed into Magica's shadow, and she becomes a shadow herself. And what happens at the end is Lena ends up being destroyed, I guess. In a sense, she ends up being destroyed. Or so we think. Because basically, Lena sacrificed herself to save Webby and her friends and family. But then, towards the end of the finale, we see Webby walking off with the boys, and her shadow being replaced with that of the form of Lena, sort of now merged with Webby's shadow. So it makes me wonder if, with Lena now living in Webby's shadow, because we're wondering exactly what happened to her, and we see that she basically has allowed herself to kind of, after she's, I guess, destroyed or sent away, she allows herself to be absorbed into Webby's shadow and become one with it. One has to wonder how that's going to play a part in season 2. And I think what's going to happen is this may also happen in the premiere, or they may hold off on that until at least the second or third episode. But I have a feeling that during the first couple of episodes of season 2, Lena is going to reveal herself to Webby. She's going to reveal that she's now part of Webby's shadow, and that now that she's kind of merged with Webby in a sense, now that her and Webby are now one, Webby now has some power. And one of those abilities, I'm guessing, would be shapeshifting. Hear me out. When we see Lena sort of now part of Webby's shadow, and thus part of Webby herself, Lena is still in her original form. So it makes you wonder if her being in her original form is going to give Webby not just some additional magical powers to help fight against anybody that threatens her friends and family, but also gives her the ability to shapeshift back and forth between herself and Lena. Think about that. Now, I'm not talking, okay, she'll shapeshift. She can shapeshift into any inanimate object, into a goo or liquid, stuff like that, puddle of liquid, whatever. I'm not saying she'll be able to shapeshift into that. What I'm saying is the kind of shapeshift she's going to have is being able to shapeshift between how she is, how she is, and into who Lena was. And I've got a feeling that by Webby possibly having that ability along with these other magical abilities, it's going to play an integral role later on when they encounter Magica once again. Because Magica, if you watch the finale, or the end of the finale, loses her power. Basically, the staff that has this bulb on it that contains her power is destroyed. It cracks, and thus she's trapped up into this whirlwind. And then you see basically all her magic just gets sucked right out of her. It's like comes right out of her mouth, her eyes. And when she tries to cast a spell or something like that, she can't because it's gone. But she has still a little bit of magic on her left in her, I guess, to where she could disappear in a puff of smoke, sort of ninja style. Anyway, getting back to Lena's situation with Webby. How this ties in with Magica, you know that during season 2, Magica is going to try to find ways to get her power back. So what better way to kind of easy for me to say, thwart Magica from doing so than to have Webby be able to shapeshift from herself to Lena, and thus by becoming Lena, throw Magica off, because Magica would be like, wait a minute, I destroyed you. How could this be? And then you have her reveal perhaps exactly what's going on. It's sort of like how do I put this? It's sort of like a Yu-Gi-Oh situation, isn't it? In Yu-Gi-Oh, the original, in the Yu-Gi-Oh that we know of, or that I watched, Yugi shared a body with Yami, or yeah, well, that's what he was known originally, Yami, whatever his real name became at the end. Sorry, can't remember right now. I have to look it up. Anyway, Atem. That's what it is. His real name was Atem. But it's kind of like in that scenario, where Lena is kind of like in the role of Yami / Atem, and Webby's in the role of like a Yugi. So that when they go back and forth, Webby can end up becoming like a shadow, sort of like Yugi does when Atem Yami takes over his body, or takes control of his body. So I could see them doing something like that, and whenever they encounter Magica again, I could see that throwing her off until, let's say, Lena decides to reveal exactly why. So I think that's going to be quite interesting. I think that's going to be quite an interesting subplot right there with Webby and Lena. To the point that like I said, to the point that I would not be surprised if Disney goes this direction with it, but I would not be surprised if Lena and Webby possibly doing a big finale or something like that down the line. And let me just check something here. Okay. Just checking something. Well, I would not be surprised, like I said, if Disney goes this route, that during possibly a climatic situation, some kind of uber dangerous situation, I would not be surprised that possibly Lena and Webby will end up fusing. Like they'll be able, that basically because of the closeness of the friendship, they'll be able to tap into whatever magic there is, whatever magical power they have together through that friendship bracelet or whatever, and they'll end up fusing. Like all of a sudden, you see Webby, and all of a sudden, out of that comes this new character that's sort of like an amalgamation of both Webby and Lena. It's sort of like a fusion. I don't know how that will look, but it's gonna look interesting to where maybe it's gonna have a little bit of a mixture of both, and it's gonna, and this fusion obviously will have a new name. It'll be like uh it can't be Rena, uh Weeby, Weeba, Rema, Webna. It can't be Webna, although that sounds like a good name. It could be Libby, Lena, Limby. It could be Limby, something like that. It could be Rebna. I think it's going to be Webna. It's potentially, I think, the name they could, something like that, they could end up going with if Disney goes this route where basically Lena and Webby will tap into some kind of magical power since they're now sort of connected together, and instead of changing from one to the other, they'll end up fusing their shadows together and thus fuse Webby, and if thus basically transform Webby in sort of a fused version of the both of them. And whether or not it's a more adult version, like kind of a little taller, kind of curvy figure kind of deal, or just basically just an inch taller or so, but basically she's a fusion of the two with a new name. I can't really say, but again, with Lena sort of being part of Webby now, that's in a sense because she's part of her shadow. I could see possibly not with the premiere, but in the early in the other earlier episodes of season 2, I could see, like I say, Lena revealing herself to Webby, explaining possibly how this happened, and thus, as the series progresses, we kind of see that now Webby has not just the magical powers that Lena had, but also is able to switch back and forth. Like she could change her appearance from herself to Lena, and again, I have to stick by the fact that I believe they may go the route of both the shadows will fuse together, and thus it will turn Webby into a fused version, amalgamation of both of them when the opportunity presents itself. Again, I'm not saying that would happen, but I wouldn't put it past Disney, the creative team behind this new series, to do so. I mean, look what they've done so far, and I haven't even watched a single episode yet. Just listen to what other people have had to say and watch certain clips. I mean, I could tell you this, though. I guarantee if they would have showed this finale at San Diego Comic-Con, the season 1 finale at San Diego Comic-Con, in that image at the end of the episode of Della finally appearing officially in animated form and saying her line, that would have got a huge pop and reaction, no matter what hall, Disney was showing it in. That would have got a huge, and I mean huge, reaction. Now, with that said about Lena and Webby's situation, what about Gizmo Duck? Well, I think he's still going to be a part here. He's still going to play a major part. But this is the season I think we're finally going to get Gandra D. Now, I don't know if we already got a Fenton Crackshaw love interest in the series, but if not, then I definitely see Gandra D showing up. I really do. I see Gandra D showing up in some shape or form. I don't know if she'll look identical to what she looked like in the original 80s and 90s series, or if she's going to be completely different. I mean, we see that Fenton is definitely design-wise different, design-wise, somewhat personality-wise, and even employment-wise. We see that he's completely different. But will Will Gandra D be the same? Will she still be a secretary at the bean counting company, bean counting warehouse that she's at, or will she have a different occupation? And how will her history with Fenton be told? Like, what's the connection going to be? You know, that's going to be the question. Will she end up becoming a new hiree of Scrooge McDuck's down the line, and Fenton takes an automatic attraction to her, and vice versa? Will she be the way she personality wise? Will Gandra be the same as she was in the series, or will she take on a completely different personality like Fenton? Like, will she be more comedic, more silly? Or will she be sort of a subtle nod to, or will her personality be a subtle nod, like I say, to her original personality? We don't know. But something tells me Gandra D's showing up. I just got this feeling she's going to show up. And, when that happens, I guarantee you people are going to, I guarantee you this, that episode is going to have a lot of viewership. Because a lot of people, despite what they say they want to see, and there's a lot of things they want to see happen here, Gandra D showing up officially as part of this new series of DuckTales is definitely something fans want to see. And again, how she's presented, how identical, if not close to identical, is she to her original incarnation, that's going to be completely up in the air, but I got a feeling we're going to finally see her. Don't know why, but I just do. Now, the other thing that I think was going to happen, because we got teased with it, we've seen it. I've got a feeling that this season is going to be the season where we officially kick off the Disney Afternoon universe. Yes, I truly do. I think this is going to be the season where what's been speculated for a long time, since the series began, and even since the series was first announced, I've got a feeling it's finally going to start coming to fruition and become reality in season 2 of DuckTales. I mean, let's face it, you had references and acknowledgments to Spoonaville, Cape Suzette, St. Canard. Heck, you had Darkwing Duck even appear, finally, even though in this incarnation, he's an actor playing a hero. But that could all change. What I'm saying is, what if Darkwing Duck is not just the hero being played on TV, but the person playing Darkwing Duck, which is probably going to be Drake Mallard, also wants to be him in real life because he feels that way he can benefit to society. He can help clean up society or something. So there's that. So there's that with this Disney Afternoon universe happening. And then what about Cape Suzette? We already saw the animated re-debut in the series of Don Carnage. So you got to go all the way if you're going to do that. So I can definitely see them doing it. I can definitely see in this season, in this upcoming season, speculation, mind you, of them bringing in the other Tailspin characters like Baloo, Kit, Rebecca, Wildcat, maybe even Molly. Louie perhaps. But I can see them at least, if not for the other characters I just mentioned, I could see them at least bringing in Baloo, Kit, Rebecca, and maybe Wildcat. And that's about it. But mostly Baloo, Kit, and Rebecca. I could see that happening. And again, I've got a feeling that this season is going to be the season that kicks it off. I mean, how would you react if Scrooge McDuck's calling up Higher for Hire, or someone's calling up Higher for Hire, and then you see this hand go down and grab the phone, raise it up, and as the camera pans up, you see the new, rebooted, or redesigned identical to maybe what she was in the original show, Rebecca Cunningham. And just imagine if it's Sally Southers, I think, voicing her again. Just saying. Just saying, it could happen. But again, I think this is the season where the Disney Afternoon universe is going to be fully established. And I think it's going to start with Tailspin and Darkwing Duck. And whether or not I think it's already been announced that DuckTales is going to get a third season. I'm not really sure if that's true. But if it is, I could see potentially in that third season, Rescue Rangers, Bonkers, Gummy Bears. I mean, Gummy Bears was already established in this continuity as these mythical, magical creatures or something, I think. So, yeah, you already got the Gummy Bears in this universe. You got Tailspin pretty much. So, yeah, like I said, I think the other thing that's going to happen here in season 2, speculation-wise, is we're finally going to get more integrated, if not fully established, head-on into the Disney Afternoon universe. And I've got a feeling that we're going to see characters from Tailspin because of that. We're probably going to see Darkwing Duck finally show up along with Goslin. And maybe we'll get some Rescue Rangers in there. We don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting, and how they play into it is going to be, I think going to be a part of what makes this season as good, if probably not better, than the one that just wrapped up. So, whatever the case may be, or however it's done, I believe season 2 of DuckTales is going to be a full head-on introduction into the Disney Afternoon universe with appearances by Baloo and Rebecca and Kit of Tailspin, Darkwing and Goslin of Darkwing Duck, and possibly the Rescue Rangers themselves if they go that route. So that's one major thing I definitely see coming out of this. What else do I see? Well, I said this when I talked about season 1 and how the characters were kind of changed up a little bit. I could see them still doing an episode with Webby, even with Lena as part of her, going through a Yucky Duck phase. In other words, basically, I've got a feeling, again, mere speculation, that DuckTales may do an episode where Webby gets temporarily doused in this slime or gets coated with the slime somehow on a part of her body, and thus she turns into the DuckTales 2017-18 incarnation of Yucky Duck, and thus goes through basically the same situations as Goslin did along the way. Now, what about Gummy Bears? Like I said, it seems like they were introduced in this series as these mythical creatures in the past. So how are they going to play a role? I think what's going to happen is we're going to get flashbacks to the medieval times. I think when the Gummy Bears were supposed to be guardians of some kind of magic that I think got referenced in this series. And who knows? We'll go from there and see what happens. But overall, though, what I'm getting at, and I know I'm a little tired here, and it sounds like I'm kind of rambling, kind of crossing my words here. But what I feel is going to happen, like I said, speculation-wise, is I could see the Disney Afternoon universe finally being fully head-on introduced in this courtesy of DuckTales the new DuckTales series, with appearances, I believe, first of all, to start things off, by the Tailspin characters Baloo, Rebecca, and Kit. And then later on, maybe Darkwing Duck, maybe Rescue Rangers, who knows. And then, like I said, I could see them doing a incarnation or their adaptation or their version of the Slime Okay, You're Okay episode from Darkwing Duck. But this time, instead of Goslin being in that situation, I could see them doing it with Webby. I really can. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's really about all I could say in my speculation for what could happen in DuckTales Season 2. Going off merely what people like The Next Big Thing, Sean, Watso Videos, and others have had to say, as well as the clips I have seen. It's mere speculation of what I think is going to happen, how it's going to start, basically with Della Duck, letting them know that she's alive, how they're going to try to get to her, when the rescue could happen or not happen. Basically, Webby and Lena now being kind of like one individual. And then, of course, the introduction of the Darkwing Duck. I mean, not the Darkwing Duck, but the Disney Afternoon Universe, as well as possibly an adaptation or their own take on the Slime Okay, You're Okay episode. This time, instead of Goslin, we have Webby. So, yeah. That's pretty much all I'm going to say there on this. Again, it's mere speculation by me going off what I've read, what I've heard other people say, and what I've seen. I'm going to check the comments right now, folks, as well as make sure there's no updates going on. I'm going to check the comments right now, folks, see what any of you may have said. Okay, it doesn't look like anybody's chatted yet, so. But really, that's all I'm gonna say, guys, on my speculation. Again, I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm fumbling over my words or staring into space or something like that. I'm tired. I worked today. It's about 9:35 p.m. Pacific on this Saturday, August 18th, 2018. So, but really, that's all I'm gonna say. Those are just my speculated theories. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with what I had to say? Watso Videos, Isaac, I would like to hear what you had to say on it in response. Maybe do a video response to it. Same with you, Sean. I would like to hear what you guys have to say on my speculation of what could happen in season 2. Like I said, going merely off what you guys have talked about and what I've read and heard and clips I've been seeing. So let me know what you all think down below, though. Comment if you like. And I will talk to y'all later. Peace out. God bless.